Glad to be here. I'm actually glad to be here because we just heard Restore, and that is extremely powerful for me because it's the story from where she ended. We can continue that story with the Open Forest Protocol. But before I start, I'm going to drop just a word, actually 3 words, that I'm going to use later in the conversation, in the presentation, and those 3 words are human coordination mechanism. So it doesn't mean anything at this point, but I'll come back to that and you'll understand why I'm there. So today we're going to talk about how basically to scale efforts towards restoration, more specifically towards forestation. So afforestation, reforestation, mangrove restoration, conservation eventually. And I said, because previously I said because Restore was there, I'm really glad because what they do on the ground, providing the data for the people on the ground to know what they will be planting, where, how long it's going to take, how they, the trees are going to, suffer or not suffer from climate change. Basically, we are the next step, how to actually incentivize people on the ground to actually grant them money. So I'm going to start with a few things. The first big bold number here, you might agree or not agree, it's not so much about that, is that it's been agreed that, or it's been seen that the projection of the restoration economy is roughly is going to reach 1 trillion by 2030. The second kind of understanding and piece of data that is important to know here is that there are lots of different initiatives. Those are 5 big initiatives you probably all know about, but there are whole or other sets of initiatives towards restoration, towards planting trees, towards business, doing good things for the climate, for the people on the ground. So there is a lot of things happening in this space. The third thing I want to mention to set the stage is basically the carbon market. And why is that? Because that's where the money is today. Eventually money will come for other things in the future, biodiversity, soil regeneration. We're already talking about those things, but today the money is in this carbon market, and this carbon market is going to grow exponentially. And if we look a bit closer at the carbon market, we realize that roughly 50% of all carbon credits are issued with nature-based solution, especially avoided deforestation at this time. However, restoration and tree planting is happening in mostly small plots. And you've seen Restore showing the statistics about where the projects are in terms of sizes. And they are most in the hands of smallholders, farmers, communities, things like that. And that's the map of where we could restore our planet, not only trees, but restore as a whole, mostly trees. And 99%, at least 99% of those places, they can't access capital. So the question is, why and what should we do? We have huge opportunities in front of us, and we have no scale at this point. And the reason is because we lack MRV. What is MRV? It's measurement, reporting, and verification. We lack MRV from those projects to actually trust them, to actually make sure that if we invest in the carbon credits coming from a project like that, we trust that carbon credit to be a good carbon credit of good quality, that it's going to be permanent, that it's going to be additional, that there is no leakage. And there's no MRV, but when I say there is no MRV scalable, it means that there are systems to actually do MRV, but they're really expensive. So all those smallholders, they can't access that technology. So what we build is we build a system that is accessible by anyone to actually start a project on the ground, restore, plant trees, and then do their MRVs themselves to actually get the data and go through a process of verification, a decentralized process of verification for that data to be accessible by anyone, and then create carbon credits on top of that. And we do that with blockchain. And why we do that with blockchain, so I'll stop here and I talk about blockchain for just a moment. we do that with blockchain because blockchain seems quite complicated, but actually it's quite simple. Blockchain is basically a decentralized system to store data and to do things with that data, what we call smart contracts. So we actually put piece of code to say, you know, when that data do something or is accepted by someone, then a smart contract will execute another piece of code in a decentralized way. So it means that there is no human intervention on, you know, validating some data or checking, you know, if this report has been, you know, transferred to that authority has given, you know, approval, and so on and so forth. So it's a very lean way of actually dealing with data. And of course, the very important thing here is that this system is meant for not being, you know, hacked. Of course, it's also always possible to have someone hacking a system like that, but it's much more complicated to do. So in short, blockchain brings three advantages. The decentralization part I already talked about. The immutability is another point that is very important, because once the data is on the blockchain, then nobody can change it. So you can always go back to previous data sets and check what was the data there and make up your mind. Of course, that brings transparency and trust. I'm going to go through that quickly. So what our benefits are: basically bringing an MRV tool that is going to be free, possible to access anywhere in the world. It's going to reduce time, the lag time, and obviously it's going to solve liquidity and improve transparency. So when we come back to what I said in the beginning, the human coordination mechanism, this is basically what we're building. We're building a solution where the data from the projects can be gathered basically from the ground, then can be validated by a community of decentralized validators, mostly companies knowledgeable about forest, and then with the validation of that community can be actually used, and the easy use in that case is carbon credits. So we will be launching next month a set of 3 products. The first product is a dashboard for projects to register the projects with NFT. The second is an app based on a smartphone where people could actually go in the forest, do the measurements with the app, come back from the forest, and upload the data to the dashboard. And once they are ready, they can send the data for validation in a decentralized way. And that is the validator dashboard. So that's kind of those 3 products are the base of everything we will build on top, which is the MRV system. So up to date, we have a community that is building quite fast of different actors, because we are building a tech solution that's, of course, very important, but we're also building a community around us. So we have validators. So those are companies that will be checking the data and validating the data. We have governments, which we are implementing with. And we have, of course, forest projects. We have roughly 45, close to 50 now, that are already interested in the technology to implement. And of course, we have backers, mostly VCs at this point, half angels, half VCs. And we're trying to develop also globally, because we have a tech solution that can be applied worldwide, but we need boots on the ground, talking to the projects, a bit like Clara was explaining before for Restore. We need that interface with the projects on the ground to explain the technology, teach them about the technology, and implement. So with that, I'm finished. I'm very glad we had time to discuss, and I'm very welcoming your questions. Thank you.
I see most of you still check. Boop, boop. Here we go. I see most of you are still going with the clapping option. I gave you so many ways that you can make sounds, but clapping is what we're doing. Thank you so much for sharing about that. If you've got questions, please pop it onto Slido. I have to admit, I did not look at Slido, so let me quickly take a look. Okay, blockchain, NFTs, and crypto consume way too much energy and resources to be categorized as a better solution than Web 2.0.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
That's the usual question. It's a good one, though, and that's mostly education. So yes, actually, the first blockchains, Bitcoin, those kind of blockchains, Ethereum also, those first and eventually second generation of blockchain based on proof of work consumes a lot of energy. But this third generation of blockchains and the new protocol on which we're built actually consumes a lot less. Like you would compare that to basically storing data. Why? Because they have a different system. They work on proof of stake. Okay. So the technology is different, and then the impact is different. I can deep dive into the subject a bit more, but that's kind of the high-level reply.
Solana? No.
Solana will be, I'm not sure about, yeah, I think Solana will be a third-generation blockchain, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, that is the usual question that comes in, and I'm glad that you gave a response to that. You've developed your own blockchain.
No. We're building on another, what we call L1 blockchain. An L1 blockchain is basically an infrastructure blockchain where other projects can build on top. So we're building on top of the NEAR protocol.
Got it.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, hasn't developed the own blockchain, building on top. What inspires you most about the whole decentralized blockchain space?
So I think the decentralization is inspiring because, when you go in our societies here, we kind of lost the sense of community. When you go to the global south or people where the community is still very strong, and you come with a project saying to the people, we are bringing to you a project that is decentralized, and your data is going to be looked by many people around the world, and they completely get that right away. They like that approach. They like the community-based approach, and I think that's super powerful because you're gathering the power of the crowd in a sense. Yeah.
Excellent. Any other questions while Frédéric is here? Any questions about blockchain, about what they're building, about how to scale? Here's maybe one last one.
Sure.
You've got decentralized on one end, you have community-based approach on the other end. We've been talking about how to scale these great ideas. Again, this is a great venue where we have startups and social entrepreneurs all sharing the stage, talking about growth, growth, growth. To you, any final thoughts or tips on how to take great ideas and projects, even like what you're building, and scale it?
Yeah, I think scaling, when you think about what we do with blockchain, the idea to start with a blockchain system, it's already thinking about scale. By the time you do that, you're thinking about how you're going to grow your community. So you already, from the start, you think about how you're going to scale. So you think about how you're going to onboard the validators, how you're going to onboard the projects, how you're going to find partners, and all those people are going to be part of the system. So you think about this right away. In a regular startup, I would say I don't have experience for that, but I think it's harder to get that sense of scale directly from the start because you don't really know who you're going to talk or who you're going to end talking to. In our case, it's easier. You don't know maybe the name of the company or the name of the project, but you know who you're going to interface with in terms of in the ecosystem. You have to pin it down.
Yeah.